Is that working?
You probably need to be made a presenter, I guess. Make it now. You have presentation rights. So
Share, I think.
yeah.
Says. Yeah. So I'll give you a very brief background. So, like one of the models we use, like for organizational changes and design, is ecosystem design, which is very much from based on a normal ecosystem, like our planetary ecosystem, right? Um, and it always has a thing at the center, which is a source of heat and light, like the sun, or a brand, or a
Yeah.
purpose, or something like that. And that's job is to give heat, which is energy, which can be money, resources, time, that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
or and light, like shine a light on issues that need focusing or things that need attention, that sort of stuff, right? But it's very
Nice.
holistic, very human centered, right? So just imagine a planetary ecosystem. I will share my screen now. Hold on.
Sure.
And I'll whip you through. So it looks roughly like that, right? So you have the brand in the middle. So I use brand in this example because my definition of brand is the meaning people attach to you and your offer. So it encompasses a lot. It can be a vision, a purpose, a raison d'etre, a just cause, doesn't really matter. And outside of the brand are these little circles, which are pocket or orbiting cultures, and they are powered and empowered and given heat and energy by the band in the same ecosystem, but may form a different point of entry. For example, they may be um, in the example of small outside, they may be software development angle, they may be charity angle, they may be HR stuff, they may be communications, right? That they act as little magnets. They attract people who what they believe and are kind of superpowered by those sort of things and work in tandem, right? So the work is specific points of amplification and points of entry, and um, they're called dynamic factors in academia, right? The dynamic factors of every organization is a thing that if you give it energy, right, which can be again time, energy, money, people, they will amplify your business, right? They will change it up. And they can be pointed in many different ways, but every organization has dynamic factors that you can put energy into at any time, and it will change the direction or the momentum of your business, basically. So that's the basic shape of an ecosystem. You can have as many pocketing orbiting cultures that they can be closed and put down again or put up again. It doesn't really matter. It's really fluid. It's really equal. Everything, just like nature, everything in an ecosystem design is equal, right? It's all very reciprocal. Like it depends on each other for different things. Everything has its reason and rhyme and purpose that ties it all together. And there's various things that connect it. So these simple arrows act as a two-way thing, right? A two-way thing for communication, for ideas, for energy. Again, I use because I quite like using energy as the real economic currency rather than time or money because that's a bit finite. But they move in both directions, right? You can amplify stuff from there, but it goes into some details. I'll show you. This is from a talk I did ages ago for Disrupt HR called Businesses, Cities and Ecosystems. This is the opening premise. I won't read it all out because we haven't got time today, but it'll give you an idea, right? But the reason we created this is to have a human-centered, a true human-centered way that businesses and organizations can still be measured successful by economic growth, but do it with a true human need at the heart, right? So like on every orbiting culture this is, so every kind of piece of ecosystem, you have little elements. So social spaces like on Discord where people can chat, education. You've built most of these sort of things into Discord anyway, right? So transport is how people and information get in and out of your planet. commercial is the revenue making stuff because it's aimed at businesses, this particular one. And then I just go into a bit about each specific venue, which we won't do. But the premise was every company can build an ecosystem level because it's purpose driven and equal and fair and human centered, which is a way of businesses making a better planet. Basically, I'm wanging through this sort of thing. This is just a design framework we used called the 5 Ps or customer architecture. That's irrelevant, really. But the exciting thing, well, my favorite bit anyway, of the ecosystem model is the way you measure the success of an ecosystem, even in nature, right? This is all borrowed from biologists, from ecologists, is through its ecology, right? And the ingredients you measure ecology successful for, whether it's ants or people, is diversity. So the study of the diversity and distribution of a population, the abundance, which is the growth. So not necessarily the top or bottom line boring growth, but in people, in energy and skills and productivity and activity, which is because this is an equal and fair and distributed business ecosystem. It's the study of the process and the interactions and the adaptations and like finding out what's actually happening. What are people up to in your ecosystem, basically? And you measure those 3 things, and they work in kind of freedom within the framework, but they're up because they're in one ecosystem, powered by one central purpose, for example, one central brand purpose. They're all kind of interlinked and mutually beneficial. Yeah, we don't need that. That was just a bit on design thinking. But then we referred it back to economic growth because that's how everybody understands you should design businesses. Like you get more people to buy the stuff you have, you get more stuff to get the people to buy, you get new stuff for new people, which isn't super relevant for this one. But the thing that ties everything together is culture. Right, it's the thing that sticks everybody together, and it also acts a bit like a magnet. Right, a strong culture within an organization attracts people to it, whether that be customer side or like internal or external, let's say in this case, or it repels the wrong people. Right, it repels the wrong customers, the wrong partners, the wrong members, that sort of thing. But it's all to do with culture. There you go. Acts like a magnet, blah, blah, blah. And then we took the cities analogy a little bit further. And look, again, this was specifically for culture-led businesses, this presentation. So for context. So we looked at tourism. There's different sorts of tourism, social tourism. So people will come into your ecosystem to see the other people in it. There's business tourism. So people come into your ecosystem to do business. There's cultural tourism because people are attracted to the culture, right? The stories, the symbols, the ceremonies that happen within it look like a nice part to be part of, which again enhances the power of the ecosystem model. And this is just the summary slide. So you think on an ecosystem level, we study its ecology, and economic growth is a result of creating these scalable, repeatable planets or processes. But I mean, there's a lot of layers to the onion, but it's pretty simple to understand if you think circular.
Everything resonated well with me there. Absolutely everything did. And I think, although we started the conversation on how do we structure or how do we avoid hierarchy, which this one does very well, I think it's got application in many other ways. So thanks for opening our minds up on that.
That's all right. That's all right. And the center, I call it a brand, but obviously you have people in a business organization, for an example, you'll have people who are in charge of the brand. So this will be the C-suite people, and the champions, right? The HR champion, the marketing customer sided champion, that sort of thing, right? That are there to ensure that the stories, symbols, and ceremonies that are being sent out, that are empowering all of the pocket cultures, do that job. They empower them, but it all feels the same, even though they might describe it differently.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
of the context of their world, right? But that's about it.
Yeah, this is wonderful, and I like the word champions instead of the C-suite. So it just takes away that connotation that comes with it, I guess. But champions is in having a champion in the center, which radiates, and I quite like the two-way because it's not just one way from the champion out, but it also comes back and it helps. And
This is
I
it.
think it's
The each pocket culture, right, is empowered, but the actors, they are definitely the point of entry, right, to this ecosystem. So if people are interested in creating green tech, for example, they're not probably going to come through any of the other things. They're going to come through the one that's most likely to them. So as long as it's given heat and light by the brand at the center, which of course will be populated by people who understand the brand the most, because why wouldn't they? Right? Then it goes into that, and it becomes a more powerful thing. The thing at the center is only there to create the environment that allows the pocket cultures to do their best work.
Got you.
You know what I mean? That's literally their whole role in the thing.
Yes.
It's just to create an environment.
Yeah, and I guess if I relate it back to what's happening right now, I guess I'm somewhere in the center trying to facilitate that. But what we need to do is get away from that single node, if you like, to multiple such ecosystems or orbits.
That's it. And like, you can create. They're really good for kind of modern like tech-driven businesses as well, because they can form things like product lines or propositions or anything like that, which in that sort of world you need to kind of smoke test and validate anyway. So maybe you create a tiny 3-person planet and go, right, 3 months that you're working on this project. Go break it or go make it, like, prove it true. And then people can go, actually, it didn't really work, but I can come back to the fore. And then
what I also like is, as in, I think I'm going to start using the word orbits going forward, because we used to call it, or we call it, working groups right now. So if you remember when we had our chats, we said we'll break the 150 into small working groups. That just feels too 20th century, to be honest. So this certainly feels nice, and I think it captures. I think it does the right. It provides a great language, I think, personally. And what I also like is we belong to multiple, we are orbiting around multiple centers, and we are moving around. And I think that's brilliant. And Vasiliki, what are your thoughts? I'm a bit chatty, so let's get your thoughts then.
I think I really like how human-centered it is, like the whole concept of the orbit. I like it how, for example, like in one slide, you showed that you take time for like checking networking, like, but not in the way like social, and sometimes it's social, sometimes it's, more connection and meaningful connection building, and like the part of wellness, how you check up with that as well. And like you said, it's just the whole purpose of it is to make people work on things that they like and feel comfortable with things that they like. And yeah, it's exactly like what Dash said to me, like the first day when I did the chat that we had. It's like you do what you're good at and what you feel passionate about here. So such a good idea to incorporate.
Yeah, and I think the other benefit I'm seeing, because after Saturday's call, I went away thinking, damn, are we leaving people in a limbo where they have to just figure things out? I think this actually creates that support without the hierarchy, which I think is the important bit.
And the infrastructure as well, like the ingredients that make your ecosystem successful, right, are like, there's a really good thing by Nancy Duarte called the Torchbearers Calling, which is just how to create meaning, I suppose. But they say like that the ingredients to anything meaningful, whether it's a team, an organization, is 3 things. You need stories, which are stories, right? What you say about the thing. Ceremonies are actions, like like this weekly meeting, or onboarding as a ceremony because everybody goes through it, like things that tie everybody together that are actions. And symbols, like how do we recognize each other, like because we're all like humans are very visual language orientated, right? So how do we recognize what happens? Like what do we attach meaning to visually? Like, is it a phrase, a symbol, a logo, a person, a color, like, you know, a badge? Who knows, right?
Yeah.
But like, there's loads of way, like it's a really good thing when you get into it. It's like it's super interesting to peel back the onion, but you just start with understanding the brand at the center of it, because without that, then you can't create an efficient ecosystem. But it's, you know, it's like a living thing. It's good.
Yeah, awesome. No, this is a brilliant start. What we'll do is we've got a few minutes before the other thing, but and this is a nice bite-sized conversation. That's what I enjoyed about it. So let me post the recording to that channel and see what else comes through.
All right, cool.
But thanks, Zen. Thanks for leading the way, and have a great day. Cheers. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.